Videodrome, 1983, wasn't just body horror. It was a prophetic nightmare that terrified its own studio.
That I'm dealing with in the film are fairly middle class.
Universal executives tried to stop production after reading the script, but it was too late. Rick Baker created effects nobody had ever seen before.
We've never done any effects quite like we're doing in Videodrome.
3 different endings were filmed. Britain banned scenes entirely, and the director cut content so extreme, even he couldn't film it. These are 16 facts about David Cronenberg's most controversial masterpiece. Universal tried to halt production. David Cronenberg sold Videodrome to Universal Pictures based on a 1-page description. The studio greenlit the project without reading the full script. When Universal chairman Sid Sheinberg finally read the complete screenplay during production, he tried to halt filming immediately.
To the back of the book and is taken seriously, the book being the magazine.
The content was too graphic, too disturbing, too uncommercial. But by the time Sheinberg acted, cameras were already rolling in Toronto. The production budget of $5.9 million had been spent. Contracts were signed. The movie was happening whether Universal liked it or not. Sheinberg later regretted giving Videodrome a wide theatrical release of 600 theaters, saying it should have been treated as an art film. The studio never expected what Cronenberg actually delivered. Cronenberg's childhood. The concept for Videodrome came from David Cronenberg's actual childhood anxiety. Growing up in Toronto, young Cronenberg would pick up American television signals from Buffalo, New York, late at night after Canadian stations went off the air. He worried constantly that he might see something disturbing, not meant for public consumption. What if he accidentally tuned in to illegal broadcasts? What if he witnessed something horrible he couldn't unsee? This childhood fear became Videodrome's premise 30 years later. Cronenberg transformed his personal nightmares about television's power into Max Renn's descent into hallucination and mind control. The pirate broadcast that destroys Max Renn's sanity is Cronenberg's worst childhood fear made real. Rick Baker had 2 months instead of 6. Rick Baker, fresh off winning the first ever Academy Award for Best Makeup for an American Werewolf in London, was hired to create Videodrome's groundbreaking special effects. Baker requested 6 months of preparation time to design and build the complex prosthetics and animatronics required.
We've never done any effects quite like we're doing in Videodrome.
The production gave him 2 months. Baker had to invent effects that had never been attempted before, including the breathing television, the stomach slit video cassette insertion, and the flesh gun transformation. According to one report, the effects budget was $500,000 out of the film's $5.9 million total budget. Baker's team worked frantically, often solving problems on set in real time. Many effects Baker envisioned had to be abandoned entirely due to time and budget constraints. The Betamax format requirement. The videotapes inserted into Max Renn's stomach slit throughout Videodrome are Betamax format cassettes, not VHS. This wasn't an aesthetic choice. VHS cassettes were physically too large to fit through the prosthetic opening in James Woods' torso. Betamax tapes were smaller and more compact, making them the only practical option for the stomach insertion effects. The prop department purchased actual Betamax cassettes and modified them for filming. This technical limitation accidentally made the film more believable, as the smaller tapes looked more organic, emerging from human flesh. By 1983, Betamax was already losing the format war to VHS, making Videodrome one of cinema's most famous uses of the doomed technology. James Woods glued to the couch. The chest slit sequences required James Woods to be physically built into a couch, with the stomach slit prosthetic apparatus glued directly onto his body. Woods had to remain motionless for hours, while effects technicians operated the prosthetic from beneath the furniture. The glue caused skin irritation. The position caused back pain. The heat from stage lights made the prosthetic uncomfortably warm. After filming wrapped, Woods publicly swore he would never work with anything glued onto his body ever again.
Just out of nowhere. I mean, just suppose that could happen.
Despite his discomfort, Woods gave the film's most committed performance, remaining still while video cassettes were inserted into his abdomen and performing opposite breathing television sets. His dedication made Videodrome's most disturbing imagery believable. The breathing television effect. The iconic flesh television that breathes and pulsates required collaboration between 3 separate effects teams: makeup, physical, and video. Rick Baker's effects team created the organic television skin using foam latex and dental dam material. Physical effects, supervisor Frank Carrere built a custom device by outfitting a keyboard organ with a valved air compressor. When operators pressed specific keys, air bladders inside the EE, television inflated in sequence, creating the breathing effect. The result looked disturbingly alive, like television transformed into pulsing flesh. The effect had no precedent in film history. By Baker's estimation, most effects in Videodrome required inventing techniques that had never existed before. The breathing television became one of body horror's most memorable images. Cronenberg doubled for Woods. In the scene where Max Wren puts on the Videodrome helmet, James Woods refused to wear the actual device because he feared electrocution. Despite assurances from the effects team that the helmet was completely safe, Woods wouldn't take the risk. David Cronenberg solved the problem by wearing the helmet himself and standing in for Woods in the shot. The director performed the scene while camera angles concealed his face. Cronenberg frequently performed his own stunts and effects tests throughout his career, understanding the risks he asked actors to take. By demonstrating the helmet's safety personally, he proved to Woods it was harmless. Universal made cuts without MPAA request. Universal Pictures made editorial cuts to Videodrome that the Motion Picture Association of America never requested. Bob Remy, the head of Universal, specifically demanded removal of a dildo visible in the Samurai Dreams softcore pornography sequence. David Cronenberg was confused by this censorship because the MPAA hadn't asked for the cut. When Cronenberg questioned the decision, producer Tom Mount explained that Remy personally had a problem with male anatomy. Cronenberg later criticized Universal for performing unauthorized edits without MPAA requirements. The R-rated theatrical version ran 87 minutes, 18 seconds. The unrated director's cut, released later on home video, restored the dildo footage and extended several violent sequences, including longer versions of the Videodrome broadcasts and Barry Convex's tumor-exploding death. Britain heavily censored the video release. When Videodrome reached Britain in 1983, it arrived during the height of the Video Nasty controversy. The American R-rated version, running 89 minutes, passed British cinema certification without cuts. But when released on video in 1984, distributor CIC self-censored heavily to avoid controversy. They cut 3 minutes of graphic gore before submission, reducing the runtime to 80 minutes. Most notably, Barry Convex's entire death scene, where tumors burst from his body after Max shoots him, was excised completely. Other scenes showing self-harm remained intact, creating bizarre inconsistencies. The longer version wasn't released uncut on British video until 1990. The heavily cut version represented studio cowardice, not actual censorship requirements. Professor Oblivion, based on Marshall McLuhan. The character of Professor Brian Oblivion, who only exists through television recordings and refuses to appear in person, is based directly on media theorist Marshall McLuhan. Cronenberg attended the University of Toronto while McLuhan taught there, though Cronenberg never took McLuhan's classes. Oblivion quotes McLuhan's famous proclamation verbatim: "I refuse to appear on television except on television." McLuhan pioneered the concept that media itself shapes human consciousness more than content does, declaring the medium is the message. This philosophy became Videodrome's central theme. Television doesn't just show reality, it creates reality, and physically transforms viewers. Oblivion's warning that the television screen is the retina of the mind's eye is pure McLuhan theory transformed into Cronenberg's body horror nightmare. Debbie Harry's first major film role. Debbie Harry, lead singer of Blondie and one of music's biggest stars, had never had a major film role before Videodrome. Producer Pierre David recommended her to Cronenberg. The director watched her twice in the film Union City and invited her to audition in Toronto. Cronenberg cast her as Nikki Brand, the sadomasochistic radio host who becomes sexually aroused by violence. Harry was nervous working alongside experienced film actor James Woods. Woods gave her numerous helpful suggestions throughout filming. Harry's performance as Nikki, simultaneously vulnerable and dangerous, became iconic despite limited screen time. Her disappearance midway through the film creates haunting, unresolved tension. Videodrome proved Harry could act beyond her rock star persona. The script kept changing during filming. Videodrome began production without a finished screenplay. Cronenberg's wild first draft attracted major talent like James Woods, Debbie Harry, and Rick Baker. But production started with a toned-down, incomplete second draft. Throughout the entire filming schedule from October to December 1981, Cronenberg wrote new scenes constantly. Fresh script pages arrived daily for cast and crew. Writing continued until the final day of shooting, December 19th. Additional effects photography happened in March 1982. The climax was completely revised and reshot in May. Despite this instability, the final film shows no signs of production chaos. Cronenberg somehow assembled his most imaginative, disturbing film, while essentially improvising major sequences. Box office. Disaster Videodrome was a spectacular commercial failure. The film cost $5.9 million to produce. It recouped only $2.1 million at the box office. Universal's wide release strategy of 600 theaters proved disastrous. Audiences in 1983 weren't ready for Cronenberg's hallucinatory nightmare about media mind control and flesh gun transformations. Critics were divided. Roger Ebert called it one of the least entertaining films ever made. Andy Warhol called it the Clockwork Orange of the 1980s. John Carpenter declared Cronenberg the only real artist in horror. Despite box office failure, Videodrome became a massive cult classic on home video. 3 different endings were filmed. Videodrome has 3 filmed endings, though audiences only saw one. The theatrical version ends with Max Wren shooting himself aboard a derelict ship. His final words, "Long live the new flesh." This ending was James Woods' idea. Originally, Cronenberg scripted an epilogue showing Max, Bianca Oblivion, and Nikki Brand reunited on the Videodrome torture set after Max's suicide. All 3 characters would have chest slits like Max, with grotesque mutated sex organs emerging from the openings. A second alternate ending featured an orgy between the 3 characters, with special sex organs designed by Rick Baker's team. Cronenberg shot neither epilogue, deciding both were too graphic and undermined the film's philosophical bleakness. The ship's suicide remained. The Afterlife. Cronenberg refused to film David Cronenberg's original screenplay, included a surreal afterlife sequence after Max's suicide. Max would meet Nikki on a replica of the Videodrome set, surrounded by other characters with chest slits and videotape organs. Cronenberg described it as my version of a happy ending. Boy meets girl on the Videodrome set. The tone would be completely sincere, presenting the torture room as Max's personal heaven. Cronenberg ultimately refused to film the sequence for one philosophical reason. As an atheist, he didn't want to confirm the existence of an afterlife, even in fiction. By ending with Max's suicide and leaving everything ambiguous, Cronenberg avoided making metaphysical commitments he didn't believe. The deleted ending would have changed everything. The TV syndication version. A significantly different television syndication version of Videodrome exists with extended material never shown theatrically. The TV edit opens with different, longer opening titles presented over red-themed paintings. It includes an extended business meeting with Japanese salesmen, where Max reminisces about a girl in a Hong Kong hotel, foreshadowing his obsessions. Most controversially, the TV version adds an epilogue after Max's suicide. Pivotal dialogue from main characters is reiterated over the same red paintings from the opening. This creates a strange bookend structure absent from theatrical releases. The TV version also includes additional extended scenes cut for time and content. This alternate cut is available on Arrow Video's Blu-ray release, but remains obscure compared to the director's unrated cut. They tried to stop production mid-filming. They censored content the ratings board never demanded. 3 endings were shot, but only one survived. Britain banned entire death scenes. And Cronenberg refused to film an afterlife he didn't believe in. Videodrome predicted our media-addicted future, while Universal tried to bury it. Subscribe for more stories about films too disturbing for their own studios.